Hey folks, good morning and welcome to another episode of Steelers Morning Rush. I'm Alan Saunders. Today is Thursday, September 5th. The Steelers play in just a few days as we enter the home stretch of the 2024 offseason. A lot of excitement about this game coming up, at least from my end. I don't know. You guys seem 50-50 about the season. But I want to talk about something that I think is going to happen between now and then. I'm expecting the Steelers to sign tight end Pat Freiermuth to a contract extension sometime in the next 48 hours. I am feeling fairly certain that it's going to get done. And one of the big reasons is I know they haven't been very far apart for quite some time, and the move they made earlier this week to extend the contract of Cam Heyward was made while creating a whole bunch of cap space in 2024, and I don't see any other reason they would need that cap space, so I feel like the Freiermuth move is probably coming next. And I obviously talked a lot about the Cam Heyward contract and why I thought it was a good deal. And one of the big things is, hey, it gets them the space to make this second move. And then I had some people push back about, they shouldn't be extending Pat Freiermuth. And this one's a little bit different. I talked about the Cam Heyward contract and said, look, this is essentially a no-brainer, zero downside deal for the Pittsburgh Steelers. Extending Pat Freiermuth is a move that definitely comes with some risk. I still think it's a good idea, but it is definitely a bit of a gamble by Omar Khan and company. And I want to talk through like what the pros and cons are. So Freiermuth is going to be an absolutely enormous part of this offense this year. I made my bold prediction on Steelers Afternoon Drive last night with Zachary Smith, and I said he's going to catch 7 touchdown passes this year. That would match his rookie season and his career high. It also is like twice as many as his season touchdown prop. So I think Pat Freiermuth is going to be an enormous part of this offense. Arthur Smith threw the ball to tight ends 175 times last year. There just are no other tight ends to spread the ball around to. People, I think, have this thing in their mind about Arthur Smith prevented Kyle Pitts from being a star. Arthur Smith also had Jonnu Smith on the same team, who's a very competent and capable pass catcher, and Kyle Pitts just didn't catch the ball as much as Smith did. He also didn't have a very good quarterback, and it's a lot easier to get the ball to a guy who's not as explosive an athlete, isn't as far down the field, et cetera, et cetera. So, yeah, the only reason that Kyle Pitts didn't have a million catches was, 1, Kyle Pitts, 2, the quarterback, and 3, there was another tight end taking a lot of those reps away from him. That's also a very good player. Jonnu Smith got a big contract this offseason. There is no other tight end that is going to take a lot of those reps away from Pat Freiermuth. I think Russell Wilson is certainly a capable quarterback. Very much similar to on the level of Matt Ryan was in 2021 when Kyle Pitts went off and had an enormous year with Arthur Smith as the Falcons head coach. So I think that he is in line for an enormous part of the Steelers passing offense. I think he's their second best passing target. I think he could very easily have 100 catches, 1,000 yards. Like that, those do not feel out of the realm of possibility for me at all. I don't know what his season yardage total is, but I would go way over whatever it is because I'm sure it's not high enough. I think Pat Freiermuth is going to have an enormous part of this offense. There's almost no one else to have a big part of the offense, and so I think that's probably going to happen. If he goes and does that, he will cost a lot more if you want to wait to sign him in March, especially because the NFL free agency market in tight ends is not very good. And in fact, the tight end position across the NFL, let's be honest, is not very good. You've got George Kittle and Mark Andrews and Travis Kelce and Sam Laporta and maybe when he gets healthy, TJ Hawkinson. And then there's like a whole bunch of guys that are just in a big pile. None of them are a lot better than the others. But, like, for example, I expect Freiermuth's contract to make him about the 10th highest paid tight end in the league, putting him between like Noah Fant and Dalton Schultz. Like, these guys are fine. They're good players. I don't think I would call any of them needle movers. That's just who they are. But so even if you get a player that looks like they might be able to elevate from that pack towards that top group, they're going to demand a premium on the free agent market. Now let's look at the rest of the free agent market, right? Because it's two things. It's about ability and about scarcity. The rest of the tight ends hitting free agency this offseason: Tyler Conklin, Juwan Johnson, Mo Alley Cox, Harrison Bryan, Pharaoh Brown, Austin Hooper, 36-year-old Zach Ertz. Mike Gesicki's a good player. There's nobody, Kenny Yeboah. Like, there's nobody else here that is Hayden Hurst, I guess, maybe. There's nobody else here that is going to have any serious interest in free agency. There's no one else here that's getting $10 million a year. So Freiermuth hits free agency, he would be by far the best tight end on the free agent market. And if he does it after blowing by his career high and looking like a player that could approach that rare top group of guys, that would demand a serious premium. I mean, now you're if that happens, if Freiermuth goes out and has 5 to 10 touchdowns, close to 100 catches, close to 1,000 yards, now you're talking $15 million a year instead of maybe 11. And so I think there's some benefit to buying down that risk and signing him right now. You say, okay, well, if we get the same guy for 11 instead of 15, that's a good deal. And it is. But I think that the risk involved there is Pat Freiermuth has not stayed healthy. And I think that is the reason that this is not a deal that is a universally accepted win for the Steelers if they make it. And again, I expect that they will. This is not the Cam Heyward deal that has no risk, that can't possibly go wrong for the Steelers. This will have some risk. Pat Freiermuth has in 3 years played in 16 games, and 12 games. It's not as catastrophic as it might seem at first glance. But still, that's 7 missed games over 3 seasons. You almost sort of need to bake in that he's going to miss a game or two this year at this point. And the big problem I see is that there's several concussions there. The hamstring injury that sidelined him this year, it's not like this past year. It's not like he has some sort of lifelong history of hamstring injuries where you're worried about that being a continuing recurring problem, but the concussions being a continuing recurring problem, and he's had several dating back to his time at Penn State. I think that makes it a riskier deal because now you're looking at the next one could be worse and more create more and concussions, unlike other injuries where the more you have, the more you're likely to have. And so, yeah, I think there's some risk in the Steelers extending Pat Freiermuth. I still think it's a good move, but it is certainly a move that could backfire. It is certainly a move that has some potential downside. And so I'm interested to see what the reaction is going to be when this news comes out, which like I said, I expect it will. There was no other reason to do the Heyward deal the way they did. And like I said, I've known for a while that they aren't particularly far apart. And so I'll be interested to see what you all think of this deal when it comes out. But I think the other part of this that I want to mention before we wrap up here is that there are a lot of places on this roster that need attention in 2025 already. They very clearly and egregiously need a second wide receiver. Even with Cam Heyward signed to a contract extension, they need some kind of future defensive tackle, right? They need a replacement for Larry Ogunjobi and someone that can eventually replace Cam Heyward, right? They don't have that. They have one guy, Keanu Benton. They have their second corner on a 1-year contract. Their starting running back is on a 1-year contract. The quarterbacks are on 1-year contracts. There's already a lot of things on the list for next offseason. They have a pretty good tight end. I'm not saying Pat Freiermuth is great. He's not a Pro Bowler. He's not, but he's pretty good. And if they can sign him to a reasonable contract, I think locking up some of I would try to extend Dante Jackson, Jalen Warren too. I think those are players that are good enough that you should want to keep them around. And then maybe be able to focus all of the offseason resources into some of those areas like wide receiver and defensive line that I think definitely are going to need more attention going forward. Running back, certainly they're going to need to draft a running back. If they lose Najee Harris, then it's not going to be in the 7th round. Like, it's going to have to be somebody with some pedigree. And so they've already got a lot to do next offseason. I think adding tight end to that feels foolish at this point when they have a pretty good one. But again, this is a move that's going to have some risk, going to have some downside. We'll see what happens, and I'd love to know what you guys think. Leave a comment here. Find me on Twitter, or make sure you like and subscribe to the YouTube channel. We can talk about it with Zachary Smith right after it happens on Steelers Afternoon Drive, whether that's today or tomorrow, or I doubt it would happen on Saturday, but I guess it's possible. And then stay tuned. We'll be bringing you all the rest of the content the rest of the week. Like, subscribe, hit that bell for notifications on the YouTube platform so you don't miss anything. If you're listening somewhere else, leave us a 5-star review. Thanks for listening. Thanks for watching, and we'll see you next time.